If you were born between 1969 and 1984, you are a part of the 65 million Gen Xers. And you've just found your new family. Welcome to the Carolina Underground. Gen X perspectives on rapidly changing technology, history, media, politics, how they come together and influence every aspect of daily life. The world we were raised in has ceased to exist, but we haven't. Let's do it. Welcome to the Carolina Underground. Now your hosts, Mark and Mike.
Yo, 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 it's the Carolina Underground, and we're back again on Soapbox Stacking with Mark.
How you doing this evening, sir?
Ooh, we made it to another day. It's cold. I saw snowflakes this morning. I was about ready to turn back around and hibernate, but I made it to the office where I proceeded to eat half a dozen donuts, drink
My goodness.
3 cups of coffee, 2 fish fillet sandwiches, and then I had a bowl of oatmeal tonight.
So you honestly saw a snowflake or two. I'm impressed. I did not see a single one, and I was actually up there in your neck of the woods.
Well, actually, and then when I got to that was on the way to the office, and then when I got to the office, it was actually sleeting a little bit. So, But it worked out the best because it's the way I like to see it. You just see it falling, and then by the hour later, it's gone.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, that is pretty typical of our neck of the woods, to be perfectly honest.
I think it's going to be cold tonight, though.
Well, not tonight. Really tomorrow, I think it's only supposed to get down in the 40s. Last I looked this evening, but tomorrow night,
I'm showing 15.
Get down to about 16.
I'm showing 15 tonight, and the high what is tomorrow? Tuesday. The high tomorrow is going to be 42, and the high Wednesday ain't going to be but 38.
Well, it's been a hot minute since I've looked at the
but
weather report, so I'm going to argue it. Yep, that is the one thing that you can that always holds constant about the weather in the South, especially in any time other than the dead of winter or the heat of summer. If you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes; it will change.
That is for sure. Or in some cases, if you're in Florida, drive 3 blocks.
That's true. Absolutely. Well, so what in the world is new with you, sir?
Well, ain't much been new. I've been just hanging out with baby dog, watching Star Wars, eating breads and desserts, and getting all fat and sassy.
Well, there you have it. There you have it. Now,
there ain't been much too going on. I mean, you saw that I saw an interview with Jerry Jones crying because the Dallas Cowboys choked again, fell flat on their face.
Well, that's kind of been their mode of operation for quite some time now,
yeah,
hasn't it?
Well, I think so. I don't like them anyway. I don't like pro football. I'm not a big fan of any pro sports really, other than pro wrestling. And I don't.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, that's not. I was going to say it's not really. They're athletes, but it's not really a sport. So I mean, it's like.
Yeah. That is the truth. I mean, it is. It's a show, not a sport. So, but it is a very active and athletic show to be
right.
sure.
Right.
So,
and today we got what is it today or tomorrow that they're voting in Iowa?
I really hadn't been paying much attention to that either because you know the point of the matter is that the things as far as the news and whatnot that I'm aware of go, they had Palestinian protesters storming the White House, and it was not picked up by any of the news media outlets whatsoever.
Would that not be what they determined an insurrection?
Yeah, I would think so, especially based on the footage. But the fact of the matter is that doesn't fit with the narrative that they want pushed. And so the only place that I saw any coverage was on X, the artist formerly known as Twitter. And it looked, they were out there screaming, of course, for Israeli genocide and stopping the bombing of the people that are creating the ruckus. And, they were, of course, they were screaming about Yemen and whatnot like that. So, I mean, again, there've been another 20 or 30 attacks on military bases in the Middle East. And our response was to go out and drop a bunch of bombs in places that nobody was at. So, that's been pretty much our policy. But the thing that I saw that did kind of concern me just a wee little bit was, aside from that, was the news report about the FAA's diversity push, including hiring people. And this is the Federal Aviation Administration. Includes hiring a focus on hiring people with severe intellectual and psychiatric disabilities.
Well, now, that kind of defeats the purpose of having them working for the FAA, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, isn't that kind of what our federal government has turned into, is a whole bunch of people with severe intellectual and emotional instabilities that are, being put into positions of authority everywhere in the world because their feelings are hurt?
Well, they need to get over. That's the only thing you back guaranteed in life is your feelings is going to get hurt. If you don't go through a day without something kind of stepping on your feelings, you ain't living.
Well, you hadn't set foot outside the house or turned on the television or radio or anything else if you hadn't got your feelings hurt at least once.
That's true.
But no, I mean, again, they once again, the only place that you see any actual news coverage anymore now that Fox News has joined the ranks of the total, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm thinking of total, and I can't get the word. The total, oh my goodness, propaganda networks.
I don't know. I don't
see any actual news there either. Well, I mean, again, that's the whole point. I kind of stopped watching it because it's nothing but propaganda, and it's all according to the same narrative. They, none of them will call any truth to power anymore. So you can't trust them. Any of the major news network. Now, they still shout enough of the conservative talking points on Fox that there are people that believe that they're actually reporting news, but you've not heard anything in every one of the states where, as I understand it, every one of the states where they claimed voter fraud with the mail-in balloting in the 2020 election has now been confirmed that said voter fraud did exist, but you haven't heard anything about it on the news. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody's doing anything about it. So the point being, there, and I think we talked about this previously. I don't recall if we were on the air or not. Did we cover the last time that the judicial system was used to prevent a candidate from being on the presidential ballot? Did we cover that on
we did.
Any of the? We did, yeah. It was
Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, it was, and again, that's the last time it happened, and it led to civil war. And I'm wondering if that's going to be the case this time. But again, the whole idea of a democratic republic is to give the citizenry of the country the right to select and choose their leadership, not to have it shoved down their throat by the military industrial complex, or the pharmaceutical industrial complex, or the social media industrial complex, or whichever other industrial complex you want to look at. And it's it's disheartening that more people are not up in arms about all of this stuff. But
well, I read an interesting article today or last night. I can't remember if it was either last night or this morning. They think that they have started re-examining the Jack the Ripper case.
Oh, really?
And this was in Popular Mechanics magazine. And they think they have two new clues that actually point to the real name and the real person that Jack the Ripper actually was. And it was an artifact that one of the artifacts that they are going back to that was like a custom engraved walking stick that one of the investigators in the 1800s actually had. And they're thinking that it may end up actually being the walking stick that belonged to Jack the Ripper.
Well, I had heard about that, and then there were several entries in like hotel ledgers, if I recall, that pointed to the same individual as the owner or the owner of the walking stick. And I don't recall. Well, I mean, it had interested me, but not enough to actually remember any of the stuff that I had read or heard about it. To be honest with you.
There was a book I read not too long ago by Patricia Cornwell. Portrait of a Killer, and she pretty much thinks she closed the Jack the Ripper case, but. Well, the book is actually pretty good, and normally she's fiction and stuff like this, but this is actually one that she actually did that is not fiction; it's real. But I think she put it. That came out. I don't know. It was several years ago. I think it came out in 2002. Actually.
Well, and again, it's fascinating. It really is. But being as it's 200 years ago or more now.
Well, I mean, I understand, you're not going to bring anything to justice now. It's just a matter of trying to figure it out. Kind of like it's still the same case in point with the Zodiac. More than likely the Zodiac killer's dead. It's just a matter of trying to figure it out.
Well, and D.B. Cooper. The mystery of D.B. Cooper and all of that fun stuff as well. I mean,
that's true. I mean, they did say they found some of the money, not all of it, but some of it.
Oh yeah, and I mean, and
I'm gonna truthfully think they need to try to find out who killed them 3 little boys that they blamed the West Memphis 3 for doing, because I really do not believe those young kids or those older boys killed those younger boys. I think it was one of the stepdaddies.
It's entirely possible. You just never know. Again, that's one of the things that I'm going to misquote it, but one of the things that was shared to me is that the vast majority of police work is solved because people can't keep their mouths shut, and it's solved by by different tips and things like that people somebody that's mad at somebody goes in and turns them in for something that they've done. But basically, even with modern forensics and DNA and all of that fun stuff, a lot of it boils down to, if you didn't actually see it happening or catch it on video, it's pretty doggone tough to prove anything, So,
well, I mean, how do you know anything is true?
Well, you don't.
Well, I mean, because theoretically, the history books were written by the victors, so you don't really know whether you have the truth sense of history or not.
Well, there's always a narrative, and there's always, we discussed that on a previous episode, I believe, as well, talking about Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. I think we did, at any rate, but we're again, the narrative that the victors want to be shared is the narrative you're going to have.
Well, that's true.
And again, I was looking at that not too terribly long ago, but when I was in Costa Rica, it was the anniversary of what they referred to as the U.S. invasion in, I believe it was Nicaragua, I think was the one that they were talking about. Now, the narrative we had in the United States was, of course, that we were stopping the spread of communism in South America. And what it was is the CIA pulling the same kind of banana republic election manipulation that they're pulling in the United States now. And, it hurts a lot more when it's happening to you, when it's being done by your own tax dollars. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things that to climb up on, and I don't know if this is the first, second, or third soapbox I've started off with this evening, but you sit and think about it, and I think I've referred to this before, but the problem is that the federal government especially has begun to look at the taxpayer dollars as their own personal piggy bank to bring any frivolous lawsuit that they choose to bring to bear for any purposes, and that's primarily to line their own pockets. Mm-hmm. And that's the issue that everybody needs to understand is the number one issue, because nothing else matters. If we can't get that nonsense stopped, and then we don't have a justice system. What we have is, a thug squad. I don't know what else you'd call them, but something along the lines of the Stasi or the KGB or anything like that, where they've got, they have an endless supply of funds to destroy their political opposition. And, whether you like the political opposition or you dislike the political opposition, that has to stop, no matter what. That's true.
Well, yeah.
And quite frankly, I think, okay, well, and another one that's going on right now that I am aware of is where they're using the school facilities in New York to house illegal aliens.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Well, they're only using it to house the illegal aliens that they're shipping in from overseas and inviting into the country and claiming that they're not, and not the American citizens who are homeless, who are in the same predicament, living on the street. And, I don't know about you, but I grew up under the at least the illusion that the citizenry were the ones that were supposed to benefit from the tax dollars they spend, not people who were non-citizens.
Oh, I agree, 100%.
So,
if it was me, they never would get in. Of course, you have Texas and the federal government standing off to where the Texas National Guard has blocked ICE from entering that park and down near Eagles Pass and stuff like that, because Texas is enforcing the border security itself.
Well, yeah, and they have to. But again, we've discussed that as well. Every state's borders is the responsibility of that state. Now, again, the federal government is supposed to be providing security for the borders of the entire United States.
But what happens when it doesn't?
We're living in it. Is
what happens exactly. When it doesn't. So how do you adjudicate that? Because theoretically, that is enumerated, or a power enumerated to the federal government. So this is a gray area. This is something in the history of the United States that I don't think has ever happened.
No, it hasn't. Again, the United States, like every other country, and the time frame when the United States was formed, was in an expansion period, and all of that stuff, and all of the things that everybody cries and wrings their hands about how evil the United States was. But that was the norm in that point of history. Mm-hmm. And quite frankly, we invaded Texas and the Spanish-American War and all of that stuff was basically us taking land away from Mexico.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, let's face it, we about whipped their entire country with 4 toothless rednecks at the fucking Alamo.
There's some truth to that. And that if you've ever been out there and you've seen that wall that these fellas were sitting behind, it ain't much of a wall. It was only about 3 foot high.
Well, I mean, you hear the Alamo, remember the Alamo, and you see movies and stuff like that. You don't realize how really insignificant the Alamo really is. Yeah, I mean,
Well,
it holds a
yeah,
significant part of the history of Texas, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not like you're defending a castle and
no.
all this other stuff. It's just a few little outbuildings and a little wall that if you stick your head up too high, you like a turkey shoot.
Oh no, absolutely. Again, the movie made it look like it was easily defended or relatively easily defended, and I mean there really wasn't much
The
there to
Great
defend.
American died there.
Several of them did actually, but go ahead.
Well,
You
Davy
thought which
Crockett.
one? Davy Crockett, David Bowie.
Yep.
So, I forget the name.
Well, the only reason Davy Crockett was there because he really didn't think there was going to be any aggression.
Right.
So
Yeah, but it was.
he got fooled.
Yep, he was absolutely mistaken on that. Jim Bowie
The Bowie knife.
also died there. Yep, absolutely. He was sick as he could be, as I recall. But yeah, I mean, it was a.
So,
But again, that goes to show you the power of the narrative. Go ahead,
there's
sir. I'm
something
sorry.
here that really aggravates me.
Do tell.
I've been seeing these videos on TikTok
Uh-huh.
and YouTube and Instagram and everywhere else, on all the social medias.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a lot of social media out there, and if you're going to follow social media, just pick one and stick with one.
Okay.
I recommend OnlyFans, but that's neither here nor there. But
all right. I don't know how much news is coming across OnlyFans, but hey, go ahead.
Some of it's pretty.
I believe you.
So the latest thing, they have these. They want you to scan and go. The apps, Walmart has it. Everybody's got it. Right. Well, they want you to use that. And then when you use it and you're using the app to pay for it and you don't have a paper receipt, they're calling the cops on people that are using it like they're shoplifting.
Okay.
So, I mean, Walmart and those places, no, they are. I've been seeing the videos. I've been reading.
No, I'm talking about they very well may be shoplifting because that's
these people are actually scanning it, adding it to cart. I know if I've got a guy that works for me that actually had it happen to him. And so what gets me is if you're going to do this, and now if I'm going to take the time, I have to scan the crap myself.
Yep.
Then don't stop me. You better waddle your fat ass over there and scan it for me, put it in the bag, and then you can tote it out and I paid for it if you so dad blame worried about it.
Well, but again, that's the whole, we've talked about that. That's the trend that we're seeing in everything in information technology. And as a matter of fact, everything in the United States. It's one of those
I just mentioned lately that I just hate computers. I just hate them.
I'm right there with you, my friend. They're really getting to the point where it's kind of ridiculous. And, that's actually gone well past the point where it's kind of ridiculous. But again,
it just don't make a lot of sense. We could put a man on the moon with less computing power than a damn scientific calculator. Right. We can read license plates from space.
Yep.
But we can't count votes.
Oh, we can count them.
We can add.
Not only do we count them, we manipulate them, and therein lies the problem.
All this electronic voting came about after Florida and them hanging chads.
Yep. Absolutely, it did. And again, they've proven multiple times in nearly every state that the security on those electronic digital voting machines is
garbage,
a joke, an absolute joke. It takes seconds to break through and take control of them and change all of the stuff that to your heart's content. And yet again, it's a matter of the whole problem is that we have people it's the same problem that you run into like in industries like Boeing. Okay. 20 years ago, you didn't have Boeing aircraft falling out of the sky. You didn't have hatch plugs blowing off the side. But what happened is, they put a bunch of these Ivy League educated MBAs in charge, and the only thing they know how to do is manipulate numbers to make money grow. And so they don't focus on the operational four portions of the concern, because that's an expense, and their whole goal is to reduce expenses. And again, that it goes along with this whole diversity, equity, and inclusion thing.
Mm-hmm.
What they're doing is they're using that's a smokescreen. They're using that to put people who are not competent to have the job
Mm-hmm.
in charge of doing the job.
Mm-hmm.
And we've gotten away from the I mean, again, and this goes back to education too, because again, 20, 30 years ago, when you got that piece of paper, it meant, well, I mean, again, when you graduated from high school, okay, it meant that you had accomplished the necessary competencies to matriculate to the next grade all the way through your education. But then we got to the point where we were given participation trophies in sports, and you can't hold somebody back because it hurts their feelings. So you just have to give them a D, and then you pass them on to the next grade in spite of the fact that they have not met the competencies.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've got this dichotomy of a situation where, on the one hand, you're required to have the piece of paper because of the paper ceiling that says that yes, I are qualified to do this, and I got that from the engineer. I'm an engineer. I can't spell it, but I are one. But they can't enforce meeting the competency requirements, because the competency requirements are manipulated based on skin color and race and ethnicity and all of that stuff to fill a quota that was put in place by some government official that really probably isn't qualified to hold the position that they hold to be.
Well, I mean, that's been like that ever since time immemorial. It's been like that since before, even back when we went to school.
Well, there's truth. Oh, you're talking about the government officials being,
well, affirmative action and all that stuff.
Yeah, but
I mean, it's that the bad part is you and I focus on this. We tend to focus on this a lot, and it keeps coming around, and we talk about it and talk about it and talk about it, but we don't ever seem to finish the circle about what do we do to get rid of it.
Well, and I think that's the thing. What to do to get rid of it is the point, because they've really taken away confidence in the elections with this mail-in balloting and these digital vote counting machines.
Gotcha.
And I mean, I don't know. The first thing, and I've said it before, the very first thing, and I think we need to do is first we need to stop voting for Democrats and Republicans simply because they have a D or an R beside their name. And if somebody has been in office and has made promises that they have not kept, then they shouldn't be voted back in. You should get rid of them and vote for anybody else but them.
But we know that's not going to happen.
Well, I again, at this point, I couldn't tell you. Now, again, most of the people that I know that are of a liberal bent are going to vote Democrat no matter what.
I'm going to tell you this. I'll bet you this. We can sit down with anybody and not talk politics and see how they act and see how they talk. And I can probably tell you with a 99% accuracy who those people are going to vote for.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt. 100%.
Now,
I agree. Yes, sir.
You're a pilot or studying to be a pilot.
Yes, sir. If the weather would cooperate, I'd already be one. But
now,
the weather ain't cooperating.
I guess a society or something out there called Legend of Aviation.
Okay.
And this has people in it like Buzz Aldrin,
Sure.
who went to the moon, was an astronaut,
Right.
went up in space. Chelsea Sullenberger, Sully,
Yep.
who landed the plane on the Hudson.
Yep.
Well, it has
Yep.
a new member that has sparked backlash.
All right. I have not heard about this.
Please
Elaborate.
They have inducted Prince Harry as a living legend of aviation. And I, for the life of me, cannot understand how this spoiled brat, married to a even bigger brat, can even. I don't even think Prince Harry is in the same class to carry Sully's or Buzz Aldrin's jockstrap.
No, I agree completely. But again, President Obama was given the Nobel Prize for what? He did absolutely nothing to earn it. He did not.
Well, he didn't do anything.
Wars.
He didn't do anything in 8 years in the White House either.
Right. So, but he was. I mean, this is the whole thing. We all of the credentials and requirements that used to, and that used to be important to achieve are being removed by, and it's just who you like the best, who's your buddy.
There's an online petition which has, I think it's, when I read the article, had garnered like somewhere like 11 or 12,000 signatures asking the organization to reconsider the honor because he's just a teetotal asshat.
Well, there you go.
Who
again
can't act, never has been able to act, can't act, and I just wish they would shut up and go away somewhere.
Well, but again, it's even more pervasive than that. What contribution to society have the Kardashians ever provided? I
have the answer to that question.
All right, hit me.
They normalized freaky plastic surgery.
Well, there's truth to that, but I don't think that that's something that really should be, respected. I mean, again, that was one of the things not too terribly long ago. Somebody was talking to me about how the whole problem with pronouns and stuff is that there's this group of people feels marginalized and want to be respected. And I replied to them very simply, I'm sorry, but respect has to be earned. And the way you earn my respect is by what you contribute outside of yourself to society and the smooth, successful functioning of society. The only thing that I've seen from these people is that they failed to comprehend third grade grammar, which describes what a pronoun is and the proper usage thereof. Okay. And so they don't deserve my respect. They've not accomplished anything other than to whine loudly enough about how they feel to get airtime on the news, I guess. I mean, it just there's nothing there. They have provided no benefit to society.
Like Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Just like this thing with Prince Harry. I mean, even the first Sea Lord of the Royal Navy said that there is in no way that he distinguished himself enough in an aeronautical sense flying for the Army. He is not a living legend of aviation, and to suggest that he is pathetic.
Oh, no, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, Chuck Yeager broke the sound barrier. Okay. Again, Buzz Aldrin went to space. All of these things. I mean, again, it's not like there are not new frontiers that people are capable of distinguishing themselves in. But when we are offering respect, adulation, and praise to people simply because they get Botox injections or because they wound up getting a lot of money for having sex on a camera or on video,
Mm-hmm.
That's.
Hey, I told you to pick OnlyFans. It was the best one.
Well, yeah, I mean, the OnlyFans, the result of OnlyFans is that I know what a 304 is. So,
What?
A 304.
What is a 304?
If you type the numbers 304 into a calculator and it's sort of like if you type 58008 in a calculator and turn it upside down,
you get boobies.
Boobs. Yep.
And if you type boobies.
Right, but if you do
304,
if you do 304, I follow you, and you turn that same calculator upside down, you get hoe. Yeah, so a 304 is a hoe.
I will say this: one of them has parlayed that into being a billionaire, I think, evidently. So,
well, some of them do, and I get that.
And you got Kim Kardashian, who has, I guess, passed the bar and is an attorney now, or something like that.
Oh, but, merciful heavens!
Well, I mean,
okay.
Is she qualified? I don't know. She passed, but nowadays, passing don't mean anything. It just means who you donated enough money to.
Yeah, that is exactly the point. And I mean, again, what was it? Who were the celebrities not too terribly long ago? One of them, I think, was on Full House at some point, and they had their children. They got their children in to some Ivy League school by making donations and claiming that they were a part of the rowing team or something like that, and they didn't even know what a boat looked like or something of that nature. That was a couple of years back.
Yeah, some of them went to jail, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. But that's the whole thing. This group of people that is running the show right now, they're not elected. It's bureaucracy, and it's all because they were buddies with somebody. Now, this has happened in the past. And again, that's why we had the RICO laws and all of that stuff that have been soundly abused. But again, it goes back to, you were asking initially, who should be prosecuting this? But we don't have a real Department of Justice anymore. Okay, we really don't. I mean, again, the Department of Justice proceeded to attack parents as terrorists for wanting to go into the school board and keep their children from being exposed to pornography in K through 12. Now, that used to not be an issue. We used to recognize that was a bad thing, and children's innocence needed to be maintained and protected until they were old enough to reach the age of accountability and make decisions for themselves.
Well, though, the age of accountability is subjective because it's different in different parts of the world.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and the age of accountability being 18 to vote and 21, for everything, for other stuff like beer and alcohol and everything else. So that was based on at the time frame, and I can't recall which census it was. I want to say that it was in 1920 census. That was the average age at which a person had gone out on their own, had met someone and committed matrimony, and was
this before or after they got their first divorce?
Well, now this was back before when people didn't get divorced at the drop.
Yeah, but back then they can just beat the hell out of each other and just call it a day.
Well, that's true to some extent, but again, there's always been ups and downs and whatnot, but the point being that they owned property, maybe not outright or complete, but they were in process of owning or purchasing property.
Well, that was back when a house cost $12,000.
Right, exactly. And so at that age, they ought to have enough sense to be able to make a reasonable decision. But the last time that I heard the statistics based on the last census that I looked at this, and that was several years back, the age of accountability would be set at 37 now. Okay. And
shit, I don't even think some of them are accountable at 37.
Oh, I will absolutely agree. Again, when you remove all of the metrics to measure competence,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and I mean again, that's the whole point.
Well, when you remove all the metrics, then you get Prince Harry being a living legend of aviation.
Absolutely, simply because somebody
Now,
wanted
I will
to give
say
him
this:
that for his resume.
I did watch a video the other night, and I'm gonna first say didn't understand a damn word the woman was saying because it wasn't in English.
All right.
And Danish or whatever it is not my second language.
Understood.
But I read along. Somebody was nice enough to translate and put the words up on the screen. And Queen Margrethe II had abdicated the throne of Denmark.
All right.
Because, she's getting on up in years, and I guess she wants to retire. And her son, I think, is 55 or something now. And she abdicated so he could take the throne. And she was one of the longest reigning women, I think the longest reigning monarch in Denmark. But she had sat on the throne for, I think it was 52 years.
My goodness.
But she was retired. Crowds turned out, but she was really popular. And you don't normally, we hear about the British royal family all the time,
right?
But you don't hear a lot about other royal families. And there are still quite a bit of them. There's a royal family in Spain, a royal family, I think, still in Greece. They're still in Monaco, and of course
Monaco. I was going to mention, but go ahead.
They're still out, and it was just so sweet to see that woman, even though all the trappings of monarchy, of course, the money, and of course, you're going to have people that are going to label her a holdover from imperialism and this, that, and the other. But, truthfully, although they are well heeled and well compensated, just think of the service that they gave to the country.
Oh, absolutely.
Because for one reason, and like in the UK, I read something. People want to talk about abolish what the grant, the royal grant that the government gives the royal family, and all this stuff. But what is the total amount of tourism dollars,
right,
that the royal family draws into the United Kingdom?
Oh, it's staggering, and I couldn't give you a number, but it's absolutely staggering. So,
and they want to say, oh, well, it's not worth I think the royal grants now is like 150 million pounds. And you're talking about, it's just, people are always going to downgrade people that have something because they are jealous and can't find an opportunity or can't understand why they don't have something themselves. It's the same adage you want to hear somebody's doing good, but you don't want to hear they're doing better than you are.
Well, yeah, there's truth to that. And I understand that. But again,
and a lot of times people, I just want to know what time it is. And instead of telling me what time it is, they just tell me how to build the damn clock.
Well, that's fair enough too. I agree. But, the point, I guess, being that it goes back to my whole thing about how I gauge respect, and I gauge respect by for example, Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan has my respect. He did more for the sport of basketball single-handedly because of his unbelievable talent and excellence.
Well, and not only that, but what he did outside of the court.
And he did, exactly. But that's not atypical.
Kind of like Shaquille O'Neal.
Right. What I'm saying is that's not atypical. The people who actually deserve our respect very typically are, as they're very focused in their craft and very focused in their field, but they're equally benevolent and focused on giving back. Look at Nikola Tesla.
And 90% of the time, you're not going to find them on the news or on TMZ's website.
Well, that's absolutely true. But again, look at Nikola Tesla. All right. The man really is totally responsible for the modern world that we live in. He built the AC motor out of his mind. No such thing existed. He is responsible for the for the electricity that comes into every home. He built the turbines that are used in hydroelectric generators. Okay, he designed and made all of that stuff, and he is responsible for the vast majority of the radio communication stuff. Some of it was based on Marconi's work, absolutely,
right.
and his work was more along the lines of attempting to transmit power.
Well, everybody has stood on the shoulders of giants.
Absolutely, and when he found out that people were using his patents, he was like, yeah, okay, he's doing good work, let him do it.
Right.
Because he truly wanted to make the world a better place for everyone. And those are the people that deserve respect.
Well, I have a solution to make the world a better place.
Well, hit me with it, my friend. I could use a solution.
Shut off the televisions.
Oh, yeah.
Shut off
absolutely.
all the bull crap. Log off of Facebook. And as much as it hurts me to say it, log off of Instagram, even though I do like seeing those little chihuahuas talk.
Well, I understand.
Get rid of all that crap. Pick up a book. Nourish your brain. Put some wrinkles in the gray matter instead of having it slick as glass.
Yep.
And that, my friends, is the snout to the curly tail and everything in between. And we gone.
Have a good evening, sir.
You've been listening to the Carolina Underground. Our passion is to talk about technology, history, media, politics, and how it's all changed over the years and affects our daily life as Gen Xers. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, rate, and review. And we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on Twitter at Carolina UND GRND. Hit the website at www.thecarolinaunderground.com. And if you've got questions or comments, send an email to info@thecarolinaunderground.com. Stay Gen X strong. See you next time on the Carolina Underground.